Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Green Factor, a show where we talk about green design and the business of sustainability. I'm your host, Haris, the Green Carpenter, and today we're going to be talking about mind and sustainability. With me today, we have Mr. Andreas. Hi, Andreas. You are mute.
Yes, I'm unmuted now. Thank you for having me. That was a very quick introduction. Didn't expect to come so quickly online. I'm happy to be here. Welcome, everybody who is already watching the show. I'm humbled and honored to be here with you for a great topic with a great guy.
Thank you very much for spending your time and being here today. I met Andres more than 1 year ago. One
One and a
around there,
half
maybe
years, I
two.
think.
Yeah, 1.5
Nearly
years.
2 years. Nearly 2 years, I think.
Yeah, so we know each other for quite some time, and I've always interested in what you do, Andres. And luckily, this time we have an opportunity to bring you in to the show. So welcome. And I think today we want to talk about the mind and sustainability. But before we go into that, for the benefit of the viewers and listeners, can you introduce a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Sure, absolutely. So you can see on my screen already, my name is Andreas Dorn. I'm a German coming, and I came to Malaysia way back in 1993 to work with the United. At that point of time, I worked with the United Nations and came to work at the Prime Minister's Department here in Malaysia. After these 2 years with the Prime Minister's Department, I moved to Indonesia, then came to Singapore and came back to Malaysia way back in 2000. And I worked with an HR consulting company as a backup researcher. I don't know that word right now, and interviewed lots of leaders of organizations, and many of them told me at that point of time during the interviews that they actually believe it's hard to change behaviors and create lasting change. I always believed in change, but they nearly started to hypnotize me, and I started to believe, hey, maybe it's really hard to make these changes as well and create lasting change. Until I came across something called Neuro-linguistic programming, called NLP, way back in 2003. In a short training, and I realized, yeah, it is possible to access that part inside of us that is so inaccessible for many, called the subconscious or unconscious mind, and make changes and create lasting changes. So at that point of time, I somewhat decided, it came a couple of more incidences along that line, to become an NLP trainer, embark on that field, and open with my wife, Nachwa, together in 2005/2006. We opened Asia Mind Dynamics. We're the pioneer of offering certified NLP practitioner trainings to the people here in Malaysia. And we are doing it ever since 2006, offering those trainings. I never stopped learning about the mind, so I'm also a trainer of hypnosis, hypnotherapy, one of the few global master trainers of hypnotherapy, NLP coach trainer, so I train coaches in NLP, something called timeline therapy techniques. It's a very wonderful, beautiful tool. And tool applied coming from applied NLP, also called the language and behavior profile, words that change minds. So I'm doing this since 2006. Happily ever after, helping people to get rid of negative emotions, limiting beliefs, and help them to create their life people so often desire and deserve, but many are stuck, don't know how to get there. We help them to get unstuck here in the mind to be able to create your life the way you desire and deserve to have it. I hope that was okay. Not too long.
Yeah.
Hours about this one. It's really
that's it about summarize what you do. But I think at the end there, you talk about unstuck, right? And I always seen a lot of your posts. You use hashtag unstuck. So can you explore a little bit about unstuck? Why unstuck?
Yes, it's a personal story along that line. Because when I came here to Malaysia In 1993, I thought like, wow, it's an exciting time. It's a beautiful time. It's wonderful. And I love Malaysia. I love the people here. I love the food. I love my family. I love everything here around Malaysia and Asia. And in Indonesia and in Singapore, but it was always external circumstances that directed my life. It's external circumstances. So the UNDP offered me a job in Malaysia. When the contract was over, I had to find a job moving over to Indonesia. Luckily, I found the job. Indonesia collapsed in the May Revolution 1998. We went to Singapore. The company there kind of closed down, moved back to the US. So I had to go back to Malaysia. So I was always like subjected to external circumstances. And the HR consulting company, they went from really great family environment to go public. So it was a very much a major shift in culture. No longer family oriented, but revenue oriented. And then many people started leaving. I was out of job again. So I had, at that point of time, I knew already I want to become an NLP trainer, but I realized through NLP that it's up to me to decide the way I want to go. How do I design my way forward? So I realized only in 2003 along that line, and it took me from 1993 to 2003, 2005, that I actually was stuck. I thought I was excited, I had a great life, and it was fun, but I realized I'm always subjected to external circumstances and not going inside me and realize, actually, I'm stuck. What happens if I can't find a job anymore? What happens if I have to leave Malaysia? What happens if these kind of questions? And I realized I need to take the destiny in my own hands and create my own pathway to make things happen. Doesn't matter that I can still be subjected to external circumstances, but I can decide within myself about the impact we are feeling right now and what does it take within me to stay strong, resilient. We are talking about resilient afterwards, emotionally relaxed overall, not freaking out when things go haywire around me anymore. I know what I need to do within myself to craft my pathway. So that's why unstuck is a very significant statement that I came across, and I realized, yeah, I was stuck and now I want to get unstuck. And I have people who get unstuck in their life. So many people are stuck, don't know what they do, hitting glass ceilings, subjected to phobias, anxiety, all these problems we are feeling and not knowing what to do, how to get out of that, and believing like, well, I live like that for the rest of my life. No, people don't need to live like that for the rest of their life. There are ways to help them get out of it. That was my journey towards unstuck.
yeah, and the reason why I feel that it struck a chord is because I've heard a lot of people that saying like they feel stuck with various reasons and all that. So that's why I feel that it's important for us to address that and see what we can do with it. So you've introduced NLP and a little bit before, but I think let's start to go into NLP. Like, so what is your definition of NLP and where is the application is going to be?
Wow. Okay, for the next 5 hours or so, I can talk for hours about NLP, all right? NLP, there's a mysterious word called Neuro-linguistic programming. What does it stand for? It's really like a mouthful. And if you're Googling it, you come to millions of different definitions, and it can even be more confusing. So allow me a minute or two to really explain that. So neuro stands for our nervous system, the neurology, our nervous system inside of our body. The linguistics, languaging part is really about how do we speak to ourselves. All of us have self-talk, right? I mean, tell me if you don't have self-talk, I would be really amazed. But everybody got self-talk. Most people have negative self-talk. But how do you speak to yourself? But also, how do you speak to others? And the programming ultimately are the subconscious programs running in your mind, your behaviors, your daily routines, the programs we install. Whenever we are learning something first, we are doing it consciously. It's not yet a program. But after a while, when it becomes more easy for us to use, when we are doing the same things over and over and over again, like tying your shoes, waking up in the morning, breathing, knowing how to write, knowing how to walk. If you look at little kids, they don't know how to walk. But after a while, they know how to walk. You watching this video live stream know how to walk. So it's inside of you running as a program. Many of those programs might be useful for you to reach your goals, create your life, be happy. But certain programs might be tough to change or they hold you back. Like many people feel like it's hard to create a life nowadays. I'm not good enough. It's tough to survive in the current circumstances. Life is out of control. I'm hitting a glass ceiling. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. These are programs running, negative self-talk, that are becoming a program running within yourself. NLP helps you to get rid of that. So NLP to me, it's a tool of how do you make changes inside you, your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind. But it's not a tool that you learn and then forget. It is really about something that you can use over and over and over again to pivot to the next level. If you're an entrepreneur, to create a career when you're at a glass ceiling, to create better relationships, to influence other people, to educate your children at a different level altogether, to make your life more fulfilling and more happy. Everyone wants to be happy and fulfilled. But how do you make it happen? Well, that is what NLP is all about. Is how do you use your mind, your soul, your heart, your body in order to reach your goal, make things happen within yourself to create a fulfilling life, and then also spread, this sounds terrible right now, spread the love to other people around you that are deserving to be happy as well, of course. So that is, NLP can be applied to anything, be it in sales, be it in leadership, be it in personal development, be it in sustainability, be it you are in the sustainable environment, business environment. How do you create sustainable business? The world is in a bad place nowadays. Climate change is happening. Catastrophes, environmental catastrophes are happening all the time. So how do you make that shift in the mindset, which is starting up here again, to allow yourself to make those changes that the world can sustain for our children and the children of our children ultimately as well? It's so important. So I think everybody should learn NLP.
Yeah, but I think what I've always heard last time about NLP and all hypnotherapies and all that, people have this perception that if you do it, you're learning to manipulate people. You basically, there are a lot of negative connotation and misconception about it. Can you just share a little bit about this?
Two things. If you bring it to the broad spectrum, everything is manipulation. Look, when I'm taking my cup of coffee, I love coffee, and I'm moving this cup to somewhere else. I'm not good in chemicals or in substances of that, but I'm manipulating the cup to move it from one place to the next place. So everything could be manipulation in the first place. NLP is a tool, nevertheless. It's like a knife. A knife is also a tool. A knife can be used to cut a steak. A knife can be used to put butter onto your bread. A knife can be used for many positive things. But a knife can also be used to kill people, of course. So everything you see can be used positively and negatively. Now, NLP is really also about who you are as a person. Who do you want to become as a person? And there is a dark side of NLP, of course, as well. Anything you use. Look, what I'm doing, for example, let me give you a practical example. Many people have a phobia. A phobia is nothing else but a program running in your mind that causes you to be scared, extremely scared, if you see a cockroach, if you're flying in a plane, if you're going to heights, if you're of bats or whatever it is. That's a phobia. Now, it's possible, of course, through NLP, people don't need to suffer to remove that phobia quickly. You don't need to have it for years and years and years and just take tablets to be able to survive. The fastest way I removed the phobia was 20 minutes. The longest took me 1.5 hours to remove a phobia forever. So I'm changing the programs inside. But it's also possible, of course, if I want to do it, to install a phobia, to install something negative, to make people fearful. Now, think about that, Harith. A leader in the organization who is screaming and shouting at you. Yesterday evening, I had a webinar where people talked. I had clients, or I had a leader, or I had a colleague who screamed and shouts at the colleagues, at the clients, or not at the clients, at the colleagues, at the teammates, shouting and screaming, demanding, belittling, be negative about it. So you do it once, twice, 3 times, 10 times, you're starting to influence the subconscious mind of that person as well. If you are constantly get screamed at, automatically you are getting fearful as well. You don't dare to do something anymore. That is also manipulation. It's also NLP in a manner, but a negative way of NLP, of how do you influence people's mindsets. How many parents do you know who are shouting, screaming at their children? I have a positive intention behind. They want to achieve something, but the kid might get scared of, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'm bad. You're installing a negative, bad program inside the child, which runs at an unconscious level, and the child will never identify its own potential within themselves because they have that fear inside. So anything can become negative or positive, but everything is manipulation. It's about NLP. To me, is really about how do you also speak to other people. One of my mission and vision is anytime I meet somebody, once I leave them, they should go be in a better space than they were before. No matter if they come to my training or if they come for coaching or if they're just inquiring something with me, I always want to have the intention to leave them at a better space, to give them something at least. That's a positive intention. But how many people do you know who are left at a worse space ultimately because they are interacting negatively? How many people are stressed out in traffic, for example? It's also negative manipulation because traffic is too much.
Yeah.
Well,
So I
love
think
the questions you're putting up here.
yeah, because like you say, it's a tool. It can be good or bad. It's just how we manage it, and you can also look at as an internal thing rather than external. If we
Absolutely.
help internally, then we can use it. It's a coping mechanism or a tool that we can use to keep ourselves sane.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that is one of the reason as well where why I want to talk about this, because when we talk about sustainability, normally where people always think it's about saving environment, other different things, but sustainability by definition is good for the long run. So for me, or I think we need to talk about sustainability more towards other things as well, like mental health is also part of sustainability, efficiency. There's so even culture preservation. There's so many things that can be part of sustainability that we overlook or we don't talk about. So for me, I feel like for us human to for us to be good in the long run, we need to have a sustainable mind, or a way we cope,
Can I
or yeah. So that
let me let
is
me
my
let me let
next
me just
question.
chip let me just chip in one thing. You talk about
Sure.
sustainability of how it's healthy for the in the long run. In NLP, we call it ecology. Is it ecological? So, for example, let's say let's say somebody has a goal, a certain outcome. I want to become a leader of a whatever multi-million dollar company, whatever. Just make that up here right now. One of the questions we are asking them when we are formulating that outcome with that person is that outcome ecological? What do I mean by ecological? Is it good for you as a person if you have to create that $1 million company, but you have to work 28 hours a day? Not ecological because not healthy. What happens if on the impact of your family? I had a lady one time in my training, actually, she had a really big goal, but she realized that if she follows through on that goal, she would miss out on the growing up period, the imprint period of a young child. The child was about 1 year or 2 years old. She said, like, whoa, I would lose out so much on my child's education. What do I do about that one? So we expanded the time frame. That's ecology as well, taking care of the relationships around you. And nowadays, of course, I'm always asking, what is the impact on the city that you're living in, on the country you're living in, Malaysia, even on planet Earth? Mother Earth needs our help. So when you want to do something, is it healthy for the world as well, ultimately? So what you call sustainability in NLP, we call it ecologically. Or ecology. That's a normal word, ecology overall. I like the word sustainability, actually.
Yeah, so the question was the sustainable mind. You've touched a little bit just now, and let's a little bit more about the sustainable mind. How do you see this topic?
Okay, sustainable mind. Well, coming back straight from what you mentioned earlier, to have that ecology, a sustainable mind, means how do you, as you're living your life, how do you stay healthy? How do you stay sane? Ultimately, that's the sustainable mind to me. Many people have that talking about the wheel of life as well. Wheel of life is that little circle you have with the different areas of your life, and in the different circles in your life, you might have a scale of 1 to 10 or a scale of 1 to 5. So you are ticking basically how well balanced you are in the different areas, for example. So you could be the area of career, could be the area of health, could be the area of spirituality, could be the area of family environment, could be the area of personal development, whatever the area is. You're ticking it on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, and then you should have as balanced a circle as you would like to have. Now, you might realize, for example, if you are ticking in career, you are at a 10 because you're really happy, but you're spending a lot of overtime at work, that your health level, your stress level drops down maybe to a 2 only. So your wheel of life is no longer balanced as a circle, but a bit more, what's the English word, racket, bit more uneven ultimately, no longer round. So you can start looking at the different areas of your life and check out, what do I need to change in that wheel of life, in my own area of life, to become more balanced. And that's a sustainable mind for me. How do you change stuff in your mind so you are living a good life, living a happy life, living a fulfilled life, living a healthy life, not just for you, but for everyone around you? Sustainable life is about in ecology, we also call it carrying capacity. How much can your system tolerate before it goes out of balance? The world right now is out of balance. So how can we bring back a balance to life again, a sustainable life again? So I would expand it, Harriet. I would expand it from sustainable mind to sustainable life overall. And that means to me, ultimately, how do you create a happy life and a fulfilled life? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. I think with your experience, it compressed it into something like really compact and easy to consume and understand. So thank you for that.
And if any of your viewers ultimately have a question, of course, hey, put it in the comments. I'm more than happy to go into the comments afterwards, no matter where it is, because I know you're streaming to Facebook, you're streaming to YouTube. Link up is Harriet's YouTube channel as well. He needs to have more subscribers. If you're watching that on YouTube, on LinkedIn, or in the LinkedIn chat box, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have afterwards.
Awesome.
The best way possible.
Yeah, so we have covered NLP, sustainable mind, and I think one of the main gists of the discussion is about building that resilient mind. We know that it's important. We know we need to find balance. Of course, in order for us to be more resilient, there are different people have different kind of approach and all that. But how can we start to actually build a more resilient mind?
It's such a great question, because everybody talks about resilient. So how often do we talk to, you got to be more resilient, relax a little bit, you got to change, you got to make things happen. And many people go out and I'm resilient now, or I'm relaxed now. But how long does it last, right? It's our self-talk first, and we don't know how to make that changes again within ourselves of actually becoming resilient. So how do you create resilience within yourself? And I want to split it into 2 generations, actually. The older generations, think about back, the older generations watching this video here right now. That's for the older generations, however you define older generations right now. You have been resilient before. There were a couple of global economic crises before where you survived ultimately. You fall on your feet and you stood up and you kept moving forward. So you have resilience within yourself as well. You have those resources inside of you as well. One statement in NLP is, we have all the resources to succeed within us already anyway. So it's not about looking outside of how do you get resilience, but discovering it within yourself and really play that feeling out in your mind of how you were resilient, what happened in your life that caused you to become resilient, what was the tipping point. Some bad stuff happened, some terrible stuff might have happened. Maybe you lost a job, or you lost a big account in the company you work, and you were frustrated, stressed out, had a huge challenge, but there came the tipping point where you realized, I can make it happen, I can succeed. That's a tipping point that you need to go back to and identify, what did you feel around this one? That is the emotion that you have, the state you can bring forward into the future and realize and utilize it anytime you need to have it again and again and again. Now, for the younger generations who didn't have those negative experiences, still you have major experiences. We all grew up. And drastically speaking right now, all of us, and that sounds really terrible what I'm saying, is all of us have been traumatized by our own parents, have been traumatized by school, have been traumatized by the first job, finding a job, getting to universities, traumatized by assignments, exams, getting through that stuff to complete certain stuff. So you also have that situation, and all the older generations can do that as well, of course. But the younger generations right now, you can also go back to certain times within yourself and realize what made it happen within you so you succeeded. You became who you become nowadays. And how can you put that forward to become more resilient or stay resilient? So you are starting to develop the learning, to starting to develop the emotional mastery within yourself in order to become more resilient. Now, of course, that is just me talking to your conscious mind. If you ever reach out to me or learn NLP, there are many, many tools in NLP practitioner training that allows you to learn how do you manage your emotions, how to get rid of stress within yourself easily and effortlessly to create a wonderful, emotionally powerful and resilient life. So whatever the life perceivably throws at you, you look at it with a different pair of eyes and know that you can succeed and get to the next level that we all need to get to all the time. That's my answer with regard to the resilient mind.
Nice. Yeah. So I like the way you explain a bit in terms of it's always been in us. It's in within our history and all that. We just have to like introspect, just look at our history and find those moments and
Look
work
at
with it.
look at your own story, Harry. Look at your own story. I mean, I believe, I don't know actually right now, you were employed before. You opened a factory. That is a huge strength point. We always discard those memories, right? It's just the way of life is. I made it happen. It's blah, blah, blah. There is a huge shift in your mindset already to go from employee to entrepreneur. You succeeded in the COVID crisis. So many of us struggled in COVID. Now you are back on track with your own factory, creating wonderful stuff. Reach out to Harry to know what he's really doing along that line. And you have a lot of people working for you. So to hire the first, to run something by yourself, very easy. Not for you, but more for me. But because I'm a trainer, it's much easier to run a training company alone. But the moment you're hiring somebody and hire some more, you start to have responsibility for these people as well. That creates strength within yourself. So you have the strengths. We always ignore those little steps and points in our life, not realizing that these are the points that made us who we are today. That is so important to realize it. Live life to the fullest, ultimately. Become aware of how strong we all are within us already.
Awesome. So I think my final question is in terms of the mind. What do you see? Because you read a lot and you study a lot. It's like an obsession, right? So my question is, what are the future trend in terms of the mind?
Oh, wow. The future trends in the mind. Yeah, that's a very interesting question. That's a very interesting question. See, up until about 1990s, nobody was able to really peep inside the brain, inside the mind, in order to realize how things are happening when we are thinking, when we are feeling, when we are doing stuff. So through technology, through development, we are now able to discover ourselves. And that's a huge shift going forward. So it's really about learning how we function as humans. Which is also scary, of course. If you understand how humans function, then there might be people who are trying to manipulate that. So we are getting into George Orwell's work, 1984, the big brother who is able to manipulate our minds in order to make us do what we don't want to do. So that's the scary part, artificial intelligence overall. But the future trends really is about it's about understanding what we do have inside of us already. When you're looking at how people developed over the last 100 years and the shift we went through as society, the values shift, the beliefs shift we are going through as a planet, as a country, as individuals. That is a future trend. Sort of how do we as humans are able to cope and transcend the challenges Mother Earth puts in front of us right now. So how do we are able to really go beyond the challenges in order to create sustainable outcome ultimately for the world, for ourselves. These are, I think, are the future trends. And how do we are able to bring people who are right now disadvantaged up to speed along that line. There are so many people who are really poor and really subjected to poverty and struggling. How do we bring them up in order to get that more sustainable? There are people like in the Western world, of course, as well, who are wasting a lot of resources. How do we educate them to build a sustainable environment? All of those are mindset shifts, right? And so how do we make it happen that all of us make the changes within us to have a healthy, happy planet? That's what I see as a future trend along that line.
Yeah, we hope it goes through that rather than the other way, right?
Yes, absolutely, because the world is changing anyway. The earth is changing, so sooner or later we have to change, or we are on the red list of extinguished species already, aren't we?
Yeah, so the AI as well. We need to really find way how to manage that as well, among other things as well. So
So it could
we
be scary. It could be
yeah.
scary, but could also be a huge opportunity to make major changes.
Yes, yes, yes. So we are sadly out of time.
Wow, that
Thank
was
you,
so
Andreas,
fast.
for sharing your insight, and thank you for the viewers and listeners for tuning in.
Thank
If you
you.
like this episode, please share it. Do connect with Andreas on LinkedIn. He's active there. Reach out. And also, if you want to know more, look at YouTube, ICEA Mind Dynamics. To continue learning, subscribe to our page, The Green Factor. And for content and updates, you can follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. See you next week. And as always, have a green week ahead. Bye bye, guys.
Wonderful.